There are less than 48 hours remaining to back Orbital Blues Afterburn, and there is now another great reason to back this Kickstarter. At their next stretch goal, Soul Muppet Publishing will add a free PDF of a solo play supplement for Orbital Blues, written by our very own Elliot Davis. It's called The Wanderer, and it's about reflection, about your final showdown with the troubles you've been running from. With the addition of a deck of playing cards and a handful of poker chips, players will reflect on the life of an outlaw and reckon with their trouble as they attempt to build the best poker hand possible. The Wanderer is one part journaling game, one part playlist builder, and 100% the Orbital Blues you know and love. But the deck is stacked against you, and you've only got one hand left, so you better make it count. By backing Orbital Blues Afterburn, you are not only supporting a supplement for a great game published by some amazing designers, but you are also supporting this very show and some of our favorite people like Behold and Elliot Davis. So check out the link in our show notes below and back Orbital Blues Afterburn before the campaign ends. And with that, enjoy the finale of our game of Orbital Blues.
You are clear for liftoff in 3, 2, 1. Godspeed, cowboy.
Hello and welcome to the finale of our Orbital Blues season of My First Dungeon. We began our last session with a question from Eli O'Connor. What do each of you truly want? Revenge, escape, freedom. The crew's motivations remained fractured, but ultimately you decided to finish what you all started in the Sutler system and made your way back to Irvine Industrial. Little did you know that the fight seemed to have a gravity all its own, pulling you and all your grudges and regrets into a single powder keg, ready to explode. The stage is set, and your troubles have all come a-brewing. To light the fuse, we only need 2 simple words. Everybody, roll initiative. As we get into this fight, just want to give you a quick understanding of how the mechanics of this fight will move. We're going to be starting in initiative, but rather than things being like a 10-second round, until things pop off, basically until like other people outside the ring start getting involved, every round we do is going to be a round of the fight inside the ring.
Oh, wow.
Cool. So everyone outside the ring kind of has more time to move. So this is like a kind of like 60 second, 90 seconds per round. The second something pops off outside, we move into a much tighter time frame of 10 seconds a round.
Got it.
So do that as you will.
Turn-based strategy.
Turn-based strategy, baby. As we open up on this fight, we see 2 figures standing in the ring. That lithe figure of Dell, still with that red and white scarf wrapped around her waist, some kind of like good luck talisman, something to help them through the fight. Opposite them, you see the now, for the first time since you've known them, revealed face of Blank. The mask falls to the ground, clatters on the ring, and you see that very pretty boy look that is maybe surprising for what you maybe would have imagined being covered by a mask for so long. Both of them warming up in the ring, looking at each other, not quite knowing what to do or who the other one is anymore after such a long absence. In the stands, you see Francine Dubois up on one side cheering. Next to her, the 28, 30-year-old figure of Kav standing next to them, seeming to be cheering, having a good time. On the opposite end of this entire crowd, you see the Perazzo contingent separated from the Reno Snake contingent. At the top of it, in this kind of like VIP box, you see Tony Perazzo, who's getting fed information in her ear by one of her assistants and seems to be thinking about making a move to exit this arena, getting word that no one's been able to find Casey Perazzo and that maybe this is not a safe space for them to be in. You see the tensions between these two groups are high, but are currently being stayed by a kind of mutual truce that this is an event we're going to both be participating in. You don't fuck with me, I don't fuck with you, but that is a very thin line to thread. Ward, you see your father off in the distance, Saul Jackson, jumping up and down, trying to be as discreet as possible, but is desperately trying to get Del to take this drug punch up, that they are supposed to be kind of using this fight as a demonstration for potential buyers. You see off to the side, John Tequila Rogers moving around the crowd, just kind of looking, trying to find Jesse Red Rhodes. And Maria, you see the look on Kumari's face. A look you have not seen, likely ever, as Kumari lays eyes on a figure long thought dead, that of their child. A lot to take in this space. And for a moment, you all hear that kind of quiet buzzing in your ear, that white noise. That white noise is very quickly interrupted with, "Oh, let's get ready to rumble!" You see the hundreds of people down in this giant cavernous basement. The lights start to go crazy. The DJ starts playing music. It is a raucous environment as our two fighters are pushed forward slightly by their cut men in the ring. We start with Del. What I want to do first is Blank. I want you to roll a contested savvy check. This is basically going to be your will and friendship against the hand of Francine Dubois and or Saul Jackson that seems to be controlling Del in this moment. Because there's two of them, they're going to be rolling with the upper hand.
Okay. 12.
Hell yeah. They rolled a 7 plus 3 is only a 10. In this moment, you see Del moving forward, kind of looks over at Francine Dubois, looks over at Saul Jackson. Saul Jackson looks up at Francine Dubois. Del follows his eyes up to Francine, and you see Francine just kind of very coyly, like look down at Saul, kind of, it clearly wasn't in this conversation, realizes what Saul is doing, and reaches into her jacket and just flashes a little flash of some kind of small metallic red card and just flat puts it back inside of her jacket. Blank, you kind of clock Del's eyes, you clock up here, you see this card, you recognize this immediately as a Reno Snake marker. You know that Francine has made some kind of deal with Del at some point in the future, and this is not something that is up for debate. You know that this person will be fighting you, but you also recognize that as you see them moving towards you, their arms just a little bit lower than a very active fighter would do. However, they are still going to make some initial test punches. Rolled a 7 plus 0, gives a large swing of their fist. You quickly duck out of the way. This is just a testing blow. As you guys are kind of squared up in the ring, kind of both of you kind of giving some slight jabs a little bit, no, not making contact, just kind of testing each other's reflexes. You see Dale look at you, goes, "What the fuck are you doing here? You weren't supposed to come back here." Kind of like clinches you up in a headlock. Without your voice or way to text message, what do you try to communicate in this moment as Dale is just looking at you like, what the fuck are you doing here?
As we saw in a flashback previously and just their general history, they've conned people fairly frequently in their lives, and the best way to do that is have some form of non-verbal communication. So as Dale gets them in a headlock, it's going to be, as it seems like he's trying to push them off them, but in reality they're patting their arm and trying to communicate, essentially saying, "Can't explain now, voice shot, need to leave." Kind of trying to get that through their probably made up code between the two of them. I don't think it's a Morse code. I think it's just a code that they understand between them to try and get that through. And then once they've got that message across, they'll like violently, at least appear to have violently shove them off and then put some distance between themselves and them.
You give this kind of like nonverbal signal. You guys, for a long time, you were inseparable. You knew how to work together. You knew how to talk without talking, because that is so important for anyone trying to pull one over on anyone else. You give this signal. She looks to you and kind of gives you a small nod of understanding, pushes you off, and kind of just gives you a small, a little chin tap with her arm as you begin to hear the announcer going, "We've got a live one here, folks. Let's see how this is going to turn out. These are two unknown contenders to this particular sector, but I've got word here that blank over here is a 4-time Golden Glove champion." You see the announcer kind of like looks over at you and is just kind of like, I gotta make it work, guys. Within this fight, blank, anytime you deliver damage to Dell or Dell delivers damage to you, you will take 1 blues.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Next up is Saul Jackson. Saul Jackson very quickly moves over into Dell's corner, shoves her cut man out of the way, and takes position ready to like be the one to lace up any cuts, give her water, that type of thing. I'm going to roll a little check for him. Anyone who wants to on their turn can try to make a perception check against what Saul Jackson is up to here. Next up, John Tequila Rogers is moving through the crowd. You see him kind of looking around very quickly around the Reno Snakes area, trying to maintain a low profile and doing pretty well at it. You know that this is a guy who's able to move through crowds pretty easily. Maria, it's your turn. What do you do?
Ooh, baby. All right. Maria is definitely clocked Cav. And if so, is going to kind of whip around and clock Kumari to try to perceive what is. Do Kumari see them? Are they angry? Are they sad? Are they, like, what's up?
Kumari, are you trying to conceal your feelings at all, or are you an open book at this moment?
Kumari takes out their like phone communicator thing, dials Maria, and then just goes.
Maria, you
So I don't need to roll a perception check then. Cool.
No, you look over and kind of like from a little bit away, you see Kumar just very calmly reach in, pull out their communicator, dial a number, hold it up to their ear very calmly, and then you pick up the phone. Before you can even say hello, you just see mouth agape and like a quarter-second delay. You hear in your ear from the phone, and then from the distance, you also hear Kumari going, piercing through the crowd noise and of the roar of music and stuff that is happening right now.
I'm assuming Francine Dubois is like surrounded by
that kind of like area over there is like a Reno Snakes section. So like it's kind of like a bleachers filled with snakes. A lot of them are just kind of like grunts and low-level people who are just like there to enjoy the fight. You know that there are a few people around her who look more like muscle. Do me a favor, roll a perception check for me.
6 and 1 is 7.
You see a bit of muscle next to them. With 7, there's something that you're not necessarily seeing in this moment. You do see some muscle around her.
All right, I have a question.
Yeah.
My gambit.
Yeah.
The perfect lie. When you tell someone a lie with a straight face, they always believe you. Once per session, you can perfectly convince someone of a lie.
Okay.
If I perfectly convince a perimeter snake, Reno snake, of a lie, that if they pass the message, it holds on to that truth. Yes?
You want to explore the transitive property of gambits?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Yes. I would say any lie you passed that they believe is true, they would pass as truth. I think the only thing you might have to consider is like making sure you find a person who is able to pass that message. So if you go to like a concession guy and pass the message, he can't get Francine Dubois.
Right.
But if you go to a like muscle for the Reno Snakes, you could.
Okay. I'm now trying to think about how to word it. But basically, Maria wants to get over to the Reno Snakes. Using her averageness, she'll try to worm in as deep as she can get so that she's next to someone who she feels could like pass a message along and it would actually instigate a chain. And basically, I want to say there's an urgent phone call for Cav upstairs.
Yeah, Maria is so plain Jane, plain face, unremarkable. You move through a crowd like anybody. You move through this crowd very quickly, and everyone there just assumes you're with the group that is next to them. Like, the regular people think you're a regular person. The Perazzos think you're in the Perazzo group. The Reno Snakes just assume you're a Reno Snake without a leather jacket on.
Maria Space Wedding Crashers spinoff.
You get extremely close. You kind of get into an area where you see some like lieutenants in the Reno Snakes, and you kind of move forward. One of them finally stops. He goes, "Hey, where do you think you're going? This is reserved."
I'm just passing a message along. There's an urgent phone call for Kav upstairs.
He looks up at Francine over at Kav and goes, "Oh man, he's not gonna like that." Okay, yeah, sure. Starts to walk up, and you see him deliver a message to Kav. Kav like quickly talks to Francine. You notice that Francine kind of like waves them off a little bit. It's just kind of like, yeah, you do what you need. Francine's eyes are trained on the fight. Particularly, they are extremely interested in seeing Blank.
Oh, no.
Kav quickly makes the way down and starts heading up the long stairway, clearly like wanting to watch the fight more so than anything else. And Kumar, you clock Kav heading up the stairs as well.
I think Maria's then just going to sort of hang out at the bottom of the stairs so that she can be aware of like who's coming up and down, and also potentially be waiting for Kumari, depending on what they want to do.
Hell yeah. Blank. You are in the ring, boxing back and forth with Del. You both know how to kind of sell a fight. You've done it before in the past, and that's kind of what you're defaulting to. You also know that this is not a small crowd, and this is not a crowd of rubes. This is the fastest of fast company, and this ruse will likely not last for very long. What do you do on your turn?
I'm throwing a few just faint jabs just to keep the guys going, and I'm going to back up and kind of showboat a little bit, and then point at Del and drag a thumb across my neck in the threatening pose, but I'm doing it to show Del the scar so they understand why I can't speak.
Go ahead and roll me a savvy check. I'll say you can do it with the upper hand.
I rolled 3 6s.
Oh, damn.
Roll.
You win space! You win space!
You win
Own
space!
space.
You back up, give this like fucking sick wrestling move. Del immediately clocks you, sees the scar. You see a number of emotions kind of flash through her eyes of like sorrow and understanding and worry and regret, but very quickly kind of gives you that quick nod. The crowd, however, sees this move and goes ape shit. For anyone in the crowd who was thinking maybe this is just a random person, no one is thinking that now. You hear a reporter off in the distance being like, "Oh my God, I haven't heard of this 4-time Golden Glove out of systems champion, but God damn it, this is the fight you gotta see this time." We thought we were here for Casey and Red, but boy, oh boy, we're here for Del and Blank. This is gonna be the highlight of my boxing career. People are going nuts. You elevate the crowd here. The crowd, because that was such a big role, the tension between these two groups has actually dissipated just a bit because they're so invested in the fight, which could help you out later. Blank, anything else you want to do as you kind of like communicate what the battlefield looks like better to Del?
I think I'm just going to, again, it'll be like, after that move, dragging the thumb across her neck, I'm just bouncing on my toes. And then in a fashion that very much seems like just like general stretching or like getting into the headspace, I kind of tap the point of my toe against the floor to count 4 people, just to say, I've got 4 friends here, we can get out.
I'll say with the 666s, yeah, no question. You tap it. Del immediately falls back into those old routines. You see her kind of like run a hand across her belt, signaling you like, I got it. Like, I'm in on the play.
If I can, I would also like to communicate. Now punch me.
You communicate that. You give a little nod to your chin. She looks at you, gives kind of a shrug, and you see in her eyes very quietly that she feels a little bad about this, but there's a part of her that has really wanted to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, even out of turn, just boom, decks you. Go ahead and knock off 1 heart, and you can go ahead and take a blues. As you get rocked on your chin. You feel that was not a held back punch. That was a punch, but a directed one not to hurt you too much. But boy, oh boy, does a punch still ring your clock. And you see just a little flash back of memory. You draped over that hoverboard, wounds bleeding out. As you rocket away, you see a flash of memory that you had forgotten as it kind of gets literally knocked back into your head. With you draped over that board, you glance back for a moment, moments away from drifting out of consciousness, and you see a number of people running outside of Viper's Bar and Grill towards Dell. And one of them you see is Francine Dubois. Next up is Tony Perazzo. During this round, Tony is getting like fed a bunch of information, is looking very angry. And after a couple of moments of like checking out the fight, you know what? I think had you not rolled 666s, Tony Perazzo would have started leaving for sure. Because you have like increased the crowd and the crowd is loving it, I'm going to roll a check for Tony Perazzo. The smart thing for her to do is probably leave. Like something's wrong. She's just going to roll a straight savvy check.
She's stupid, right?
Yeah, she's stupid.
Tony
She's
Perazzo
pretty
has
fucking
a
dumb.
savvy of 2.
Nah,
So if she rolls a 6 or higher, she'll do the smart thing and leave. Otherwise, she will stay.
She's gonna have to get past Maria.
She rolled a natural 8 plus 2 is 10.
She's so smart.
So Tony Perazzo
So wise.
looks at the
She's
fight.
girl bossing her way to space.
Not girl
Infamy.
bossing.
Tony Perazzo looks at the fight, seems to be enjoying it, but realizes like, hey, this might be the moment to leave. Something's up with Casey. And surrounded by 3 of her enforcers, starts to head out through the crowd, heading rather than towards the stairwell, towards one of those back tunnels, which is the way she came in. Kumari. You see off in distance, Kav beginning to make their way up the stairs towards the undercarriage bar above.
Okay. Okay, Kamari's looking around. They're very conflicted. They see Maria, and they deeply want to go be held by Maria at this moment. They see Blank, and they're so afraid that something bad's gonna happen to Blank in that ring, and has no idea what to do. They're like trying to find Eli and Ward and can't find them, and it's just like, what do I do with my crew? Herbie's still fucking around and about. And
Yeah, we have Herbie.
I will say, because you brought Herbie, Herbie can act on your initiative. So if you want Herbie to do anything,
Okay.
that'll be on your turn.
Did you guys get my email with the Herbie
Of course.
idea? Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah.
What? Secrets? You guys have secrets? You're
That's all
planning
you
around
have,
me?
Sent an
No.
email with an idea for how Herbie could benefit the group.
I didn't know that Brian wasn't on that email.
He's not-
Absolute
Fuck you,
guru.
Brian. Fuck you, Brian.
Although, Brian, how many secret plans did you get sent after last session? What was the
I got
total
so many
count?
secret plans.
I,
Everyone
think
send me
I
secret
called
plans.
Brian. Specifically. So to go up to like follow Kav, I would have like, what does the security situation look like with that?
Security, they're very lax.
Okay.
Kav is moving through here alone. You see Kav is 28, 30, something around that age. Clearly, like just by their build, able to take care of themselves. You see a gun strapped to a holster. And this is ultimately like, this is a arena down here. So people are actively encouraged going up and down. You see more people coming down than going up, though, especially with this fight going so well at the moment.
Okay. Kamari is gonna look at Maria, give like a knowing nod with a tear kind of coming out of their eye, and goes to Herbie and goes, "Hey, we got to go do something." And I'm gonna follow Kav, and my trouble is brewing, baby. It's a brewing.
Ooh.
And as you say that to Herbie, Herbie goes,
10-4, boss. You got it. Excuse me.
begins to push his way through. You feel your trouble a-brewing. Just a reminder for everyone listening and for our players playing, mechanically, once you have 8 blues, you can declare that your troubles are brewing. For the rest of that scene, you can spend blues instead of heart for exertion. You take half damage from all attacks during the scene, And at the end of the scene, you reset your blues to 0 and choose one of the following. You either gain a new trouble, you restore all your missing heart, or you increase a stat by 1 to a maximum of 3. As you move through the crowd, you head on over with Herbie to you, kind of pushing your way through pretty easily. Everyone's focused on the fight. They're not really focused on the people jostling them, trying to get away from the fight. You move through, you see Kav. Keep in mind, the dome of this cavern is like 4 stories high. So it is a winding back and forth metal staircase that's like pretty thick and beefy to accommodate so many people. You see Kav about 2 stories up, walking towards the top of the cavern to get back into the undercarriage bar. Are you following them up the stairs?
Yeah, Kumari's following.
Is there any check you want to make? Like, are you trying to be stealthy? Are you trying to catch up? Are you trying to do anything like that?
I think Kumari is too emotionally. Kumari is like not in a place where they're thinking straight. I think they're just emotional and just profoundly confused as to how this person is here right now.
Maria's gonna also follow up the stairs right behind Kumari.
Maria, you follow up the stairs as well. Kumari moving pretty quick, but still 2 flights below where Kav is. Because you're not hiding, I'm going to roll a check for Francine Dubois. It will be against the odds just to see if she happens to spot you.
Cool.
Oh, no.
No.
She rolled a 6, and a 3. That's a 9 plus her savvy of 2.
No.
That's great. I love this for me.
You don't see this. Maria, you likely don't see this either. Blank, as you get clocked, your head immediately whips over to Francine. You see Francine look at you, give a big smile. The smile of a tiger stalking its prey. And you see her just happen to glance up towards where Kav is walking. Her eyes happen to trace down and then lock on something else. And you see a moment of puzzlement, like, oh, I kind of recognize a person. It's like you see someone famous in a crowd. You're like, oh, I recognize that person. Oh, it's because they're famous. She has that, but she is looking at what she thought was a dead person. She's looking at a ghost in her mind. This is someone she thought was long dead. As she locks onto Kumari, kind of looks, sees them following up after Kav, and begins to stand up and starts to move out as well, tapping 2 guys as she's going. That's Kumari. Kav just walks up, heads out through the door, and disappears into the undercarriage bar. Ward. Ward, if you want, you've got eyes on Saul Jackson. You can roll a perception check to see what he is up to in the corner.
I only have eyes for Saul Jackson. That's a 10.
You see Saul Jackson pushes aside this cut man. You see in his hand he is palming a dose of punch up that he is like preparing to give to Dell.
Okay, Ward is sort of in the bleachers and has just been watching his dad, and he stands up very calmly, and he's going to take off his brother's jacket, and he's going to very neatly fold it in the way that his brother taught him to not get your suit jacket wrinkled. And one last time, rely on a talent learned from an old friend to bring my blues up to 9. And then as he just starts making a slow walk down the bleachers towards his dad, I believe my trouble starts a-brewing.
Yeah, it does.
You fold that jacket and set it down. This jacket that has been through hell and back, that has seen death and gunshots and blood spilt. You fold it neatly and leave it on that bleacher. Nice and crisp in a way that looks out of place for something that is so destroyed, that something so damaged can be treated with so much love. And you begin walking with heavy boot steps down the bleachers. Saul Jackson with his back to you, looking over, bringing his arms forward as if to call Dell over, like, end the round, end the round.
As Ward approaches him, he is reaching back into the back of his pants where he's hid his revolver, and he's just going to hold his revolver down by his side as he walks up to Saul Jackson. And I think he's just going to very calmly walk up behind and press the butt of the revolver into the back of him and say, I need to talk to you.
Go ahead and roll me an intimidation check. I'll say, because it's a revolver and because you're sneaking up behind him, roll with the upper hand.
That's 11.
Yeah.
11.
Ooh.
You push this up behind his back. You see Saul momentarily pauses. You see him flip his head around, not yet clocking who it is, but like begins to make a move in the way that only someone who's been on the run for so long, only such a hardened criminal can. He recognizes danger, realizes that the first thing to do is likely the best thing to do. Action is better than inaction. And the second he hears your voice, he stops. Doesn't turn around, just looks forward at the fight. Hey, boy. Think this can wait? I'm busy.
No, I don't think it can.
Think you can still handle that hand cannon?
Learn from the best, I suppose.
Learn to get the jump on me, at least. Glad I was able to teach you one thing right.
Take a walk.
Yeah. You see him slaps his hand on the mat. Go ahead and roll me a perception check.
That is just a 7, but I'm in the position where I can spend blues to exert.
You can.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll spend 1. Fuck, that wasn't good. Still under 8.
You can still spend more if you want to
Oh,
spend them
right.
on your other dice. Just any die that you
the one
re-roll
that I
if you want
already
to.
did. Okay, so actually I can't because the reroll was a 1, so there's no way I can make it.
You see him slap the mat kind of in frustration, or at least so it seems, and begins to walk with you. What way are you headed? Are you just kind of heading behind the bleachers? Are you heading to one side or the
Yeah,
other?
I think sort of like to the edges of this area, like towards like maybe the bar area, which is probably a little less busy while everybody's so engaged with the fight.
Yeah, you see, especially because of the 666s, the crowd it's created some spaces where there are no people because everyone's just focused on this fight. You begin to move with Saul Jackson, him still moving in a way he has not yet turned around to look at you. And I think you realize that is not a preservation thing. It's not anything like that. It's deliberate. It's a slight.
Yeah.
You move with him, Eli O'Connor. You begin to see Tony Perazzo standing up and moving away with some of her muscle. Quickly, like any Perazzos that are in the stands, just part like the Red Sea as her contingent begins to move down and start to head towards what you believe to be the tunnel that she came in from.
How many people are with her? Leaving with her?
Leaving with her are 3. You see she's currently like in kind of her section, so there's like a bunch of Perazzos right around right now. But the contingent that is like physically going to leave with her seems to be 3 people.
There's like an upper area where people are heading to, where like Kav and Kumari and Maria are.
They're
heading?
essentially going up a staircase like out of this cavern. So this cavern is essentially like a big, almost like 3 or 4 story high dome that this stadium has been erected in. To get down here, there's basically like almost like an elevator shaft turned into a stairwell. That basically just goes kind of straight up and down from the undercarriage bar down into this arena. So they're currently on a stairwell just kind of going up.
And Tony Perazzo and these 3 cohorts are leaving a different way.
They're heading towards, so because this was a disused mining, this was a disused mine.
They're like heading down one of the mine shafts where
they're heading down a mine shaft, yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't really want to take on 4 people, but I have to follow Tony Perazzo. What I would like to do is sneak behind them and find a way or an opportunity to separate some or all of the guards from Tony Perazzo, inject myself with the punch up, and then kill Tony Perazzo. This is what I'm thinking is my plan. So I'm going to try and, the first step of that is to be follow them and look for an opportunity to separate
Go
them.
ahead and roll me a savvy check.
Oh, I have only one savage. Ooh, that's a 7. Plus 2 that's a 9.
Hell yeah. Yeah, you caught that real. Plus 2 is 9. With a 9, you see as they're moving through the crowd, you recognize that the moment to start separating people is likely while they're still moving through this crowd. You see there's a number of Perazo enforcers, like they're essentially moving towards the border of where like the Perazo meets Reno Snake area.
Awesome. Gang fight.
Yeah, you see that there's a moment of like, that's a place where a match could be lit that might be able to cause some separation.
Okay. As we approach that area, I would like to say in like a different voice. I guess it could be my voice since they don't know my voice. But I'd like to say in a different voice, like, "You fucking Perazo trash. Get out of here. This is snake territory." And then like kick out the knees of the guard that I'm following and then like step back and look surprised. Like, I don't know what's happening. And then hopefully that'll start shit with them.
Go ahead and roll. I guess you just rolled well, should I make you roll a savvy check?
I'm rolling out. Yeah, roll dice. That's why I'm here.
Roll a savvy check.
That's why I'm
I'm trying to decide if this is with the upper hand. I think this is straight. Yeah, roll a savvy check just straight.
Ooh, that's an 11.
Yeah.
You get very close behind this person, knock out their knee. You know what? I do want to ask you something before I go through with this. You're moving through Perazo territory. I will tell you something that just to give you a clear idea of the battlefield. If Tony Perazo sees you, that's the start of a combat.
I'm now hoping that this confusion of the fight means that I can get close to Tony and kill them in the chaos.
Okay, cool.
But before I kill them, I want to look in their eyes and say something dramatic.
Of course.
With that 11, you whisper this into one of the guards' ears, grab their shoulder, kick their knee out. You hear a small like crack in the knee, and then quickly move back into the crowd.
What was that?
You see them kind of like swing around, swing wildly at you, accidentally hit a Perazo. Go, oh shit, sorry, man. Looks over, sees a Reno Snake going like, hey, fuck, like sees a Perazo hit a Perazo and be like, what a fucking idiot. And this guy immediately throws a punch at that guy. You see Tony looks over at what is happening here and goes, what the fuck are you at? Get me out of here. As a small little skirmish begins to start, you see like lieutenants or like higher up people, not quite lieutenants in this area, but like anyone who's got a little bit of influence is like trying to stop it, and all the lowest ranking people are starting to fight. As Tony begins to move out, two of the people stay behind. Two of the people stay behind? I think one of the people stay behind, and two people follow along with her as she gets kind of like ushered out very quickly from this group and begins to move through the kind of liminal space between crowd and exit.
Does this fight alter Francine's plans at all? Perchance?
Does it alter?
Dubois? To specify the
Dubois?
Francine I'm discussing.
Oh, not the other Francine?
Not the other Francine.
I'll roll a check for her. Honestly, I won't.
She's up the stairs. She's starting up the
She
stairs
is
already.
moving towards the
Okay.
stairs. She sees a more interesting threat to her than.
Gotta follow the drama.
Okay, I'm gonna keep following Perazo and then jab the punch up into my neck as I follow, as I like close the distance.
You look at this punch up dose in your hand, and it kind of looks like a pog almost. So almost
Awesome.
or like a poker chip rather, but you see like a couple of small, like very like microderm needle type things on it. You look at it, slam it into your neck, and you feel a rush of thump, 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 as your heart starts to beat faster, and you feel this just rushing through you. The effects of this, you will do double damage on any hit.
Whoa.
At the end of every hit, I'm going to make you roll 2d6. If you roll snake eyes, you will die.
Oh! Honk, honk. Time for a swan song.
To Swan's honk.
Whoa. Can I retcon? No. Okay.
Oh my god, you're gonna put that in Dell?
That's
Oh.
insane.
It's not a very high chance. 1 in 36.
Yeah.
Guys, it's
so,
rare,
it's a
yeah.
3% chance or thereabouts.
Yeah, but now that you've said it out loud, Brian, it's gonna happen.
It's extra scary. I just want to check, Carolyn, are you okay with that? You good to
Yeah,
play with that?
fuck
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Actions have consequences, bitch.
Actions have consequences.
That's what it feels like. There's a chance you could die.
I mean, John Tequila told you this stuff was dangerous. Eli, you begin to stalk these two guards and Tony as they begin to move through the space between crowd and exit. And we move from you to Francine Dubois, who quickly makes her way through the crowd with a couple of goons with her and begins to move up the stairs behind Maria and behind Kumari and behind Kav. I'm going to roll a little thing for the Perazzo goons versus the Reno Snakes that are having this fight. Basically, you can do a savvy check to see if this fight starts to get out of hand. Because, again, we rolled the 666s, I'm going to let them roll this with the upper hand. If they beat an 8, it kind of fizzles out. If they don't, this is going to start escalating and there'll be consequences for the battlefield. That is a 4, a 3, and a 3. Their savvies are respectively 0 and -1. You see this fight begins to escalate. You see what was 2 or 3 people fighting begins to move further and further into the crowds, almost like a wave or a ripple effect as more people begin to move towards this battle line. As the announcer is going up, "Hey everybody, let's keep it down. All the action is happening in the ring. Look at this 5-time Golden Glove winner by an Interstellar champion fighting this relative." Oh wait, I'm just getting word from my co-host here, and puts on another voice. Yep. It looks like over here. It's the same guy. Looks like over here. Actually, Dell turns out to be a 6-time boxing champion for the featherweight and welterweight divisions. Wow, this is just an incredible fight. You see this, the owner / bartender here is doing their best to make sure their club does not get destroyed in this altercation. And it is
I got
not
bad
working.
news for that bartender. That's not what's gonna happen.
That is the end of this first round of combat. You hear ding, ding, ding. Both fighters go to their respective corners. Blank, you see there's a cut man next to you, begins to look over your wounds, very quickly realizes none of your hits are real, and I'm just it's kind of oh shit, you're actually really good. Just assumes you're taking it on the chin and being cool with it. There's no one over in Dell's corner. Dell is just kind of chugging water and is looking at you, trying to communicate ideas of a plan. Top of the order, it is Dell's turn. From across the ring, you and Dell are just kind of making eye contact, giving each other small signals and things. Dell is looking at you, begins to kind of tap her body in various ways, kind of cross-body swipes, indicating to you something that you guys, this is a signal you guys have used in poker before of, we're both playing the same hand. We're trying to drive up the price of the pot, basically betting against each other. So hopefully a third person comes in and more money gets in the pot. The question is, which one of us is going down?
Blank grabs the bottle of water from their guy in their corner and kind of chugs it and sets it aside and kind of wipes their mouth and then rubs the bottom of their nose to say, "I'll go down."
You see just a very straight out of the sting, finger on the side of the nose, twitch to let you know she's got the play. You hear from the corner, ding, 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 round 2. And you see those same sexy ring men and women just in Speedos and thongs and shit with a giant ball
With the
that's
three boobs.
Oh yes.
Three
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Don't
the
forget.
3-boobed woman and the 2-penised man.
Right.
Both have giant inflatable balls that have the number 2 on them. You see them
they
very
do.
deliberately throw them.
They both have giant balls.
They both have giant
Huge
balls.
balls.
Huge balls.
Sagging out of the. I'm sorry.
She's
I
got
don't know what's gotten
everything.
into me today. I'm sad. This is the last episode.
We're just trying to ruin it.
we gotta cut the sad with
I'm
horny.
acting out.
They toss the balls over into the crowd that has started to fight in vain, trying to get them to disperse a little bit. But ding, 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 round 2. Saul Jackson is walking in front of Ward. You hear him still looking straight ahead, realizing you're moving towards a quiet area. He just kind of turns and goes, "You know, whatever happens here doesn't change nothing, boy. Still your fault. Your brother's cold in the grave."
I think I don't respond verbally. I just stick the revolver a little bit harder into his back.
You see him kind of feel that. Go ahead and roll me a perception check.
And also, I'm like walking him towards the bar, which I think is,
Yeah.
I'm assuming is sort of empty. I am going to exert 1 on that. God damn it. Same exact thing, 6.
You see him kind of get pushed by the barrel of your gun, kind of turns his head back just a little bit, just so you can see a bit of the silhouette of his face, his eyes still looking forward, gestures back and goes, would have been alive here with me today, hadn't been for your fucking cowardice. We could have been sitting up there, and kind of points over to where the Perazzos are. Could have been sitting up there instead of fucking Tony still. Could have had it all, but you had to decide last minute to get cold feet and run. Tail between your legs like a little bitch.
Keep walking.
I'm going to say with a failed perception check, I'm going to tell you the thing that you don't see.
Love it.
You don't see his hand flex in a way that you would have noticed is the same way you palm a coin. You wouldn't have noticed this, just that almost imperceptible way of someone palming something. And as he does, he kind of just reaches up to scratch his neck, and you see his hand press into his neck momentarily. And as his hand comes away, what you don't notice is the 6 small microdermal pricks of blood. As you see him just kind of give a small chill. But in your mind, it's just, he's got a gun in his back. He's moving in a strange way. But what you don't know is that your father has punch-up coursing through his veins.
That.
And you know what? It's still his turn. I'm going to have him make a check. I'm going to have him make a check to try to disarm you.
Oh, mama.
This is Shakespearean.
Papa, can you hear me?
I think what this is going to be,
Much happening.
I think what this is going to be a contested check.
Fuck me, okay.
I'm going to say, because you didn't see that action, I'm going to have you roll against the odds. He's just going to roll straight. Or actually, wait, sorry, let me make sure, because you are...
Trouble's Brewing, I think you can...
It can be against that's just
can
Swan
be.
Song.
It's just
Okay.
Swan Song that can't be.
So you'll be rolling against the odds. He's just going to roll straight. He's going to roll a savvy check to try to beat you on speed.
Okay.
I'm going to say you can roll...
Grit. Grit.
I think this is a savvy check. I think it's a straight speed of him.
Right.
You know what? He's going to roll a savvy check. I'll let you roll either a savvy or a muscle check. He's trying to get to your gun. You're trying to keep your gun.
I'm gonna muscle for how hard I'm gripping that gun.
Let me tell you what he got. Oh, okay. He didn't roll that well. He rolled a natural 4 plus, I believe, 2.
Lower 2 with against the odds.
Yes. Sorry, his savvy is 3, so he rolled a total of 7.
Rolled a total of 7. Okay, I am going to exert to re-roll these. Can I re-roll just the lower 2? Is that...
Yeah, you can re-roll any number, but each die you re-roll is a blues you are spending.
Yeah. Fuck a duck. That is only 7. Wait, is that what he got?
He got a 7. He, as you are moving, spins around, grabs the gun. You instinctively go to pull the trigger. His finger latches behind the hammer of the revolver, stopping it from hitting the bullet and firing directly into his gut. As he pulls the gun forward, points it straight up, and begins to move it towards your face. You are both in a wrestling match with this gun. Your father, for the first time in years, looking directly into your eyes. That is Saul Jackson's turn. John Tequila moving around the bar, is moving around the crowd. Maria, it is your turn. You are moving up the stairs, following behind Kumari. Up ahead, you see Kav entering into the undercarriage bar through the upper door. Can you go and roll a perception check for me?
I'm going to roll the other dice because those ones didn't treat me that good. Oh, well, these treat me worse. That's 5.
Okay. I'll say with that perception, you don't notice anyone coming up behind you.
Well, shit. That was going to be what I was going to ask. Oh, goodness gracious me.
I'll say if you want to spend your turn to like set up, if you want to set yourself up, in this space to basically like stop anyone from coming up. You can certainly do that, but I don't think you're instinctively aware that someone is already on their way up towards you.
Right. And I'm not necessarily like the sounds from the fight between the Perazzos and the Reno Snakes doesn't necessarily add that much commotion to the cheering and everything. Like I wouldn't know, oh, something weird is happening downstairs.
I think if you look over, you recognize that there is like a commotion happening, but you don't necessarily have a good idea.
Anything. Yeah. All right, then I think
I think actually in that area you also see, because they threw those like round 2 balls over there, those balls are also being hit up. So you're like, are they playing or are they fighting?
Right, like what's happening, guys? Can I roll a sort of retroactive perception check to see if I can, having watched them interact with each other very briefly, glean anything about the relationship between Francine and Kav?
Yeah, go ahead and roll a perception check. Or I'll say a savvy check here. This is more intuitive.
All right, well, it's a 5 and a 1, but my savvy, I believe it is +2. So that is exactly 8.
You saw them walking together. The things that you notice are twofold, I think. The first is you had only probably seen Kav once as a child on that fateful night where you thought you would never see them again.
Mm-hmm.
You recognize them only in relation to Kumari. Like you recognize them only because you saw Kumari's face.
Right.
What you see is not a child in any sense of the word. This is someone who has had their eyes fully open to the world and has trained themselves to be fully ready to accept anything the world could deal at them. You saw a gun at a holster on their hip that is clearly, this is not a show holster. This is a holster to be used.
Mm-hmm.
This is a gun to be used. You see their body has been toned in a way that suggests that they are ready to fight. And they were standing next to Francine in a way that suggests they are willing and able to protect them.
That's what I feared.
As they moved away, as your lie got up to them and they started to move away, you saw them put a hand on Francine's shoulder, just kind of like basically a tap to say, hey, I'm going to go up and take a call. You saw Francine's hand go up and squeeze in a very familial way.
I hates it. Oh no. Yeah, Maria, now that they're like taking some time to walk up the stairs.
I just want to clarify the familial way. A familial way in like a mother-son rather than a like mother-lover type.
No, they're fucking.
Oh my god.
Oh my God. I love that the two options, that the options were mother-son and mother-lover.
And mother lover, yeah.
Mother lover.
Everyone knows the mother lover dynamic.
They're on their way to the mother boy pageant.
Yeah, and they're
I
both
meant what I said, and I said what I meant. The DM is faithful, 100%.
I pretty much thought you meant like a surrogate mom sort of a thing.
There was enough smiling around the call that I was like, I want to be double sure.
It's like a cousin, second cousin.
Kind of like an Alabama, kind of, you know.
Exactly. There was just enough room to be misinterpreted.
Sibling hand
That's my
squeeze.
family,
Yeah.
Jack.
This was a motherly embrace of, okay, honey, I'll see you in a few.
That's not what I wanted to hear.
With a juicy wink.
Juicy wink is my moist, I think. Actually.
Yes, we got it.
Has anyone not found their moist yet?
Oh man.
I think that might be everyone. I
That
think
might
we got
be- that
everyone.
might
Round
be
off
so.
mic.
I'm okay with it.
Oh, okay.
Oh Lord. All right. So now that we're like taking some time to walk up the stairs, and Maria has been thinking, like she's trying to analyze of like, did I do the right thing of isolating Kav? Like we haven't seen Kav in so long. Does Kav even know who Kumari is? Does Kav want to be reunited with Kumari? Do they not? Like we don't know really what we're walking into. Now that she is sort of thinking back on this and being like, oh, that was a very, motherly pat, that Maria's starting to freak out a little bit and is going to just kind of, I think, she's just kind of really trained herself on Kumari. I almost want to throw her initiative down the river to after Kumari.
You can throw your initiative down to after Kumari.
Toss it down.
I kind of think that's what now if she missed her perception of anything happening on the stairs, I think that Maria is thinking, oh crap, maybe I haven't done the right thing, and she's going to throw her initiative down the river.
Copy that. So you move up next to Kamari as you guys go to open the door into the undercarriage bar. Blank in the ring. You again hear the announcers just like revving you guys up. All right, but between these two, we've got 14 golden gloves. That's seven whole people, baby. They're just going. They're going nuts trying to. seven whole people worth of golden gloves. We can have a person made of golden gloves fighting another person made of golden gloves with the amount of golden gloves we have in this ring tonight. Everybody, stop fighting. Just watch the fight, please. As everything is starting to shift and get a little more rowdy, Blank, you've made the call of I'm going to be the one going down. What do you want to do with your turn?
And this is like the second round that started, right?
Second round, yeah.
I think again, in his corner, getting close to the center of the ring, kind of bouncing on their feet. And we'll kind of like slam a fist against their chests. Again, in like a showmanship way, but trying to communicate to Del, just say, I'm going to punch you and it's going to come from the right. So I like slam my right fist against my chest and say, just to telegraph, let them know that I'm going to swing. And they should let it hit, but like brace themselves doesn't hit too hard.
Sure.
And then I'm going to get in close to start swinging.
You move it. I'm going to say because you guys are telegraphing this, the same way that she did, you'll automatically do 1 heart worth of damage to her, and you can take an additional blues as you do this. As you slam your fist into her side, you see her instinctively move out of the way, but there's only so much you can do while still selling a punch. As you do, the tail of one of the ends of the scarf kind of flips up in a way that just happens to brush against your arm in a way that is familiar and comforting and reminds you of those days running through and stealing things from a market. It reminds you of the days that scarf was a signal of whether walking into a bar was going to be good or going to be bad for you. You knew that the different ways that she would position it on her body were signals of what call you should make and what bet you should make. You know so much about this person, but you still, in this instance, have to hurt them. And you recognize that you may have already done that in the past.
And I kind of like dance around the ring in this moment. And then I think again, like slam my fists together and then as suddenly as I can, tap my chin to be like, throw a punch at me.
You tap the chin, wham! You take another heart worth of damage as she slams into you. You again feel that ringing in your ears.
In that moment, I would like to stagger backward as believably as possible. And I described setting my board down at the ring, at the ringside. And I've also described in previous episodes that there's like a 3-stage step of turning my board on.
Yeah.
I would like to do 2 of them to have it primed to very quickly leave at a second's notice.
Hell yeah.
Like
I'll say,
in that kerfuffle.
Go ahead and make me a savvy check. I'll let you roll it with the upper hand because you guys have been doing so well this time.
Good for the upper hand. That's a 12.
Hell yeah. You fall over into the corner. You hear the crowd just kind of pop and go, yeah! You hear a number of them going like, fuck you, yeah, Del! Your hand just kind of reaches over. You don't have to see to do this. It's so familiar to you. You just by feel move your hand down to the first switch, the second dial, and you spin your board around momentarily, knowing that the final button that you need to push will be easily accessible to you. So you've prepped this escape vehicle as best you can and also kept the fight looking like a fight. You hear the ring, the referee counting, 1, 2, 3.
I play it up. Like at like 7 is when I get up. Like I struggle to get up at 5. I like collapse again, and by 7 I'm back on my feet again.
You hear somewhere behind you, some woman going,
Taking bets. You think it's round 3, 3 to 2, 3 to 2, 3 to 2. All right, everybody. Oh, yep, you start right there.
and just calling out various odds and things. Right now, you hear people betting against you, knowing that you've sold it going down hard enough.
That's perfect. Okay.
Midnight Muscadines is a cozy, dark tabletop role-playing game where light and shadow intertwine in a fractured world. Players take on the roles of Marmoteers, brave adventurers who journey into the untamed wilderness to collect the elusive midnight muscadines, craft magical jams, and protect the fragile light of Nim. Through collaborative storytelling and resourceful gameplay, players weave tales of courage, community, and the pursuit of balance. Will you preserve the light, uncover the truths hidden in the shadows, or reshape the balance of the world forever? Midnight Muscadines is perfect for fans of Studio Ghibli and Sea of Stars who seek to capture the magic of exploration and the heartfelt adventure in a world where small heroes make a big impact. Play Midnight Muscadines as a traditional GM'd game, GMless, or even solo. Midnight Muscadines is crowdfunding now on BackerKit. Join the campaign at pandiongames.com/muscadines.
I'm Quinns of tabletop role-playing game review show Quinn's Quest, and this is Play to Find Out. Play to Find Out is an actual play podcast that brings notorious old games from the 80s and 90s back to the table. Each season of Play to Find Out, I'm joined by Emily Johnson and Rob Morgan.
Good? Nervous?
Yeah.
You both looked at each other really concerned, like you think what's about to happen is going to be unpleasant. And frankly, I think that's rude.
And together, we explore the TTRPGs of ages gone by. Our goal, to separate the TTRPGs that deserve to be remembered from those that maybe don't. I don't know, Emily. It was the 80s. A lot of people were on cocaine. We blow the dust from decrepit systems to learn how they work. Your 100 on the encounter table bursts out. Right, you've encountered a fog. Get ready. Don't laugh.
Does one get ready for a fog?
Don't laugh. Encounter their unique quirks.
I do finger guns to cover up how I wince.
A weird thing happens as you do finger guns.
Oh no.
And I'm hoping that the Quinn's Quest community will join us in exploring these games too. If you this up, cannot describe to you how much your adventure ends here.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because the best way to learn is to play to find out. Play to Find Out is available now on the Quinn's Quest Patreon, but the first episode of each series streams for free on the Quinn's Quest YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts. Anyway, you failed the Earth Tech roll, and you made jokes while I was doing my exposition, so you don't get to hear anymore.
Oh, no. Come on.
I was shook as...
Tony Perazzo is heading out with her goons. Tony is going to make a very important check, and that check is a perception check.
I pull my hat down lower.
I pull my hat down lower. She's got two people with her who are also on the lookout. You're in an area that's not particularly well hidden. You're kind of in that liminal space between two good areas. They're going to roll with the upper hand. 8 or higher, they notice you.
But the hat's lower, Brian.
But the hat is lower, so I think they cancel out.
How
That's a
low
flat
does
roll.
the hat have to go?
That is a 5, a 3, and a 6. The Perazzo goons have a -1 to savvy, so they got a 10. Tony rolled a 6 and a 2 for 8. Her savvy is 2 for a 10.
Oh, no.
Giant balls.
We're all fucked.
You see up in front of you, one of the goons turns around, looks and goes, "Hey, I'm gonna need you to hold up right there. I'm gonna need you to hold up right there." The other one kind of grabs Tony and starts moving Tony forward a little bit more. You see Tony pushes the goon's hand off, be like, "Don't you fucking touch me like that." Begins to spin around. As she does, you see her coat kind of flies open. You see a gun at her hip that you know well has been used to fell many, many people. And she glances back at who the fuck made someone else touch her in a way that she did not like. And she sees you. As you see in her eyes, she doesn't just see you in that moment. She sees you for the first instant. The instant after that, she sees Nikki.
Me too, every time I close my eyes.
A moment exists between you two. as the sounds of the crowd behind you go to nothing. The sounds of your own heartbeat even go to nothing. The buzzing in your ears that you know is from the punch-up coursing through your veins goes to nothing, and you exist in a space only two people of your particular trauma can exist. Both of you blaming the other for the death of one of your most beloved people. You both feel the twitch of your hands. You feel the weight of the gun on your hip. Tony pushes the goon to her left to the side, reaches down, drawing faster than you would have imagined for a woman of her advanced years, and fires.
Ooh. What?
Tony Perazzo has her gambit, gives her advantage on attacking with pistols.
Oh no! Can Abby the human do a diving save?
You are not close enough.
Eli, do you have
across the entire
Eli, is your trouble brewing? Are you going to take half damage? Or you?
Yeah.
Or have you not done it yet?
I feel like if my trouble ain't brewing now, then it ain't never.
It might be the time to call it.
I feel like as soon as we lock eyes, that world fades to white around us, and we're in that liminal spiritual space. Then. And I think the key to the trouble brewing is actually Eli falters when he sees that look in Tony's eyes and he recognizes that expression and he thinks for a second maybe he's been wrong and she didn't kill Nikki and she wasn't the one who shot Nikki. And that doubt brings his troubles crashing down because that like thirst for revenge is all that's brought him forward. So his troubles are ruined.
You feel in equal measure the punch-up running through your veins and the blues and the sorrow coursing through your head as you feel hot lead directly into your arm. She rolled a 5, 5, a 4, and a 1. So she definitely hits with the 2 5s. You're going to take 4 damage because your troubles are brewing. That is halved to 2.
Okay, I take 2. So I've already got -2, so I'm down to 6 heart. Now.
Oh no.
Oh no, I'm bad at math. I'm down to 4 heart.
Yeah, I was gonna
right
say
now.
if you were already down to
I'm down to 4 heart. I'm at half health.
You see Tony holds the gun, immediately cocks back the hammer. You see the men at her side are not moving to make a move in this point. They recognize that this is a showdown between you two. They likely won't interfere until it becomes necessary for them to. So you know that there is an axe over your head from these people. It is not an axe they are dropping immediately.
And it's my turn?
You're still a little ways away. It is...
Okay. What?
As you hear... Yeah, it's going to be a little weird. We might play with the order a little bit.
No, I like it. Turn-based strategy is my favorite genre.
Kumari, from up above, you're now near the door. You have your hand on the handle to leave this area. You hear ring out. Everyone from below all of a sudden goes quiet. You hear that bang ring out. In this massive cavern, it echoes in a way that you had not thought possible for a single gunshot. Your eyes immediately go over. I'm going to say, go and roll me a perception check to see if you see where the shot is coming from. I'll let you roll with the upper hand because there was such a loud bang.
Shit's popping off.
That's a 10.
You immediately look over and you see off in the distance over by these tunnels, you see Tony Perazzo and Eli O'Connor standing in a duel. Tony Perazzo hand up, Eli O'Connor staggering back slightly. You recognize having just been hit hard by a blast from a .45 revolver. A gunshot was fired. Things are going to pop off. We are no longer in 60-second rounds. We are into the 10, 15-second rounds.
Okay.
That'll be a little bit porous as we go, but keep that in mind in your heads. You have your hand on this door that you still feel is warm from the touch of Kav. What do you do?
So let me know if this is possible, Brian, but I want to use my gambit to give everyone the opportunity to roll with the upper hand when they choose because of what I'm going, a flashback I'm going to do right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So
Let's see what it is.
I think after hearing the gunshot and seeing the standoff between Eli and Tony Perazzo, Kumari flashes back to the day they had their captain's vote, their yearly captain's vote, or deciding thing. And it's like Kumari standing, like they're all in like an afternoon team meeting that Maria called or something. And Kumari's like, all right, everyone, we're doing our captain decision-making tradition today. And then holds out a handful of like straws, and they're going to draw straws to see who becomes captain. And everyone draws the straw, but I think instinctually everyone like knows which straws are the short ones and which one's the big one. They just let Kumari win. And then Kumari's like, well, all right, my first order as captain is, don't you assholes die on me. And so everyone can choose when they want to use you have one upper hand that you can roll with on a check until the end of these scenes. And Kumari is like now thinking about that and is deeply afraid for all of her crew. And so I think Kumari then turns to see Maria behind, like sees Maria and like takes out the memento that they carry of like the birthday card Maria gave her. They like reach out for Maria's hand. They squeeze it with like a knowing look to Maria, and then they enter the room that Cobb is in.
You open that door, turning your back on one of your crewmates, hoping that they'll survive, but certainly not knowing that you've made the choice to not intervene in whatever fate will have. Instead, choosing to follow your own fate, pushing through this door, the bright lights of outside hitting you, coming through these windows. Still, though it is like evening time here, the sun on this moon is a little bit weird and is crashing through this place in a way that your eyes can't quite adjust to. And as they adjust, you see, standing over by the bar, talking to a bartender, being like, "What? I heard I had a call. I walked up 4 flights of stairs to get here." You see Kav standing there, and as you burst open the door, Kav turns, looks at you, regards you, and does not recognize you.
Oh.
You see the eyes of someone who just happened to look at motion happening in their peripherals, analyzed it, and saw neither threat nor recognition, and turned back to the conversation that he was having.
Kumari goes up to Kav and says, Kav?
You see, turns to you and goes, yeah, what's up? Do I know you?
Kumari takes a long pause, looks down, gives an eye to the bartender to be like, I'm the call, and goes, You don't remember me.
Sorry, I'm good with names, not so much face. So, no offense. I just meet a lot of people. Sorry, Kav, as you know, what's Kav Dubois? What's your name?
Kumari.
You see a flash in their eyes that is kind of like, oh, I know someone named Kumari. Can you go ahead and roll me a savvy check? Well, I guess my question is, are you trying to represent yourself to Kav?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and roll me a savvy check. I'll say you can roll with the upper hand.
That's a 4.
Exert.
Sure, I'll exert 2 blues. That's an 8.
You see Kav looks at you, registers the name Kumari, goes to go, I knew it. They pause. Their face goes from talking to a stranger to talking to someone they once knew. Sorry. I know. Mom?
Mari smiles a bit and goes, "Do you know what today is?"
No.
It's our birthday.
You see Kav look at you with a number of expressions over his face, trying to figure out what to say to this person. Looks and goes, Mom told me, Francine told me you died. I thought the karaoke place, I thought it blew up.
I thought you died in there.
No, I was there and Francine took me out before it happened.
Francine was there?
Yeah, she was working behind the counter and she said she wanted to help me out with my special surprise present and she took me outside. And Kumari, you have a flash of a moment remembering at the time when this explosion happened 20 years ago, Francine Dubois was a lieutenant in the Reno Snakes, certainly not the head of it. So why would you recognize them working behind the concessions counter? But in the way that recent memories can color older memories, you all of a sudden see that nondescript person working behind there, putting cheese whiz on top of nachos. You recognize the... Carolyn did not like cheese whiz on top of nachos.
Space cheese whiz.
Yeah.
Sorry, space whiz.
Putting space...
I know you said no tangents, but I want to address this in the dice pool here.
I was trying to communicate shitty cheese on top of nachos, like you get in a bowling alley. As she put cheese on top of nachos and handed them to you, you recognize now, far off in the future, the memory of a odd-looking box sitting behind her. And they sound you hadn't really thought about in the moment because it's a karaoke bar. Everything is, there's music playing and there's metronomes ticking, but wait, metronomes ticking? There wouldn't have been a ticking. Why would you have a metronome ticking? Tick, 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 tick.
Kumari puts their hand on Kav's shoulder, squeezes their shoulder in a familial way, and then tells Kav, "You should leave," and then puts their hand on their gun and immediately turns around to go find Francine Dubois.
You turn around, hand on hip. You put your hand on the door. And Maria, I think you see this. Kumari only hears it. The cocking of a revolver. Hey. What are you fitting to do here?
I'm gonna kill the person that ruined my life, that took everything from me, that stole you.
You see him look up at you, trained on you down the sights of the revolver. Listen, I'm glad you're alive, but Francine been more mother to me than you ever were. I hadn't seen you in months when I came to that party. You weren't excited to see me when you saw me. A 10-year-old knows the difference between excited and annoyed or excited and surprised. I got you a great present and everything. But listen, I'm glad you're alive, and we can talk, and we can make this a connection. We can be in each other's lives, but Not if you take away another mother from me.
I think upon hearing this, like, Kumari like looks back on their life to like when they were raising or like had had Kav and had like no money or like resources to take care of them. So she like resorted to stealing from these gangs and like doing jobs and like embezzling, and realizing like had they known Kav existed, they would have used that as like leverage to make sure Kumari did whatever they wanted. So like made the difficult choice of stashing Kav with like friends and family and like making sure no one kind of knew that their connection, which kind of resulted in them not being there. But then like because of the influx of cash they had, was able to give the childhood Kav like a pretty good life. Like food, schools, whatever like they like he needed in terms of like survivability he had. But that meant that Kumari couldn't be present for their kid, which was like a deeply painful realization, like something that Kav never knew that, like the reason for that, and never like knew how to explain that to their kid without it like breaking their heart. And so in this moment, I think Kumari drops their gun and like walks up to Kav with the gun like cocked and like puts their forehead against the gun and goes, "Then kill me."
You have a flash of that night at Calypso's karaoke can, of seeing Kav walk into the bar, big smile on his face, big present wrapped as best a child can in their arms. And your first thought was to glance around the room at all the people that would have one on you if they had known Kav was there and who Kav was. You see members of the Perazo family, members of the Reno Snakes, members of out-of-systems gangs who are your friends as long as you are worth it to them. And you remember the feeling of having to be cold and distant to your child who was just so excited to give you this present that you never got to see. I think a thing you recognize in this moment is you understand that Francine was the one who planted the bomb. You also recognize that it was Francine who pulled Kav out of there. Willing to do some things and not willing to do some things. You push your head up against the barrel of the revolver. I want you to roll a savvy check. I think because you're putting yourself in this position, this will be with the upper hand. Tell me what you think about this proposition. Should you succeed, Kav will drop their gun, and you will essentially both be removed from combat, being able to figure out what is happening up here. Should you fail, you will be removed from combat.
Am I swan songing right now? Is that what I'm doing?
Not necessarily. What I want to posit to you is you're making a very strong move. You can either win everything you want or lose everything you have. I don't want to give you a middle ground here.
I'll take you up on that bad boy.
All right. So should you succeed, and your troubles are brewing, so you still have the ability to exert, you're rolling with the upper hand because you're making a very strong move and risking a lot.
Yeah.
Should you succeed, you'll be able to make further moves as you see fit.
Yeah, and I'm gonna definitely exert, I think, 2 more blues just in case.
So go ahead and roll your check.
Well, didn't need to exert anything because that is a 10.
With a 10, you push your forehead into this gun. You say, "Then kill me." You see Kav's eyes steel themselves. You see them soften and steel themselves again in rapid succession. in this moment that extends for minutes, at least in each of your own minds, you see a finger quiver on a trigger before it finally pulls off and into a resting position on the side of the gun as the gun slowly lowers to his side. Looks at you, looks at the door. Listen, you do what you gotta do, I suppose. You've got a legitimate quarrel with Francine, I suppose. But what I said before still stands. If you do what you're fitting to do, I won't see you. You'll stay dead to me. So you do what you have to do, and I'll understand it. I will. I'll respect it. But I won't forgive you for it. And I hope you can understand that. Been away a long time. Francine's been good to me for a long time. Never pushed me too hard. Never made me do things I wasn't ready for. Made me into the man I am today, okay? So you do what you gotta do. I won't stop you, but you make that choice. You're as dead to me as you were earlier this morning. Puts the gun back in his holster, turns away from you, sits down at the bar, reaches over, pulls a bottle of whiskey from behind. You see the bartender glances over, is about to say something, and then realizes this is not a person to be fucked with. Pours a large glass of whiskey, looks dead ahead at the bottles laid out in front of them, and takes a long, slow sip of a cold glass of whiskey. And waits. We're going to move from Kumari. Maria, you tossed your turn down the river to act with Kumari. Also, Kumari, you do have Herbie nearby you should you want Herbie to do anything, if you want to direct Herbie in this moment.
Herbie, get me a glass of whiskey.
Hey, you got it, boss.
Herbie runs behind the bar. You see the bartender doesn't look as enthused to have Herbie behind the bar, but kind of recognizes the situation is like, I'm not going to fuck with this. Herbie pours you a large drink. Maria.
I mean, Maria's troubles are brewing. She's lost it. This is the apex of the troubles. So her troubles are definitely a brewing. And I think she's trying to gauge what to do. She doesn't know who's coming up the stairs. To be totally frank, I think Maria's troubles are brewing, and that's her whole turn. She is completely frozen.
You stay frozen in front of the door as you see Herbie go behind the bar to make a drink. You see Kumari standing there frozen in the same spot they were with this gun to their head, and you see Kav slowly drinking this tall glass of whiskey. Ward, your hands shaking with a gun pointed directly up. Revolver is cocked. Both of your fingers are on the trigger as you're beginning to push it back and forth and back and forth. You look into your father's eyes and you flash back to that night. Hearing him from across the way yelling, "This is your fault." You flash back just a moment before as your brother is running with you through this spaceport. Smoke billowing around you, gunfire on both sides. You see Saul Jackson and some of his cohorts firing at Perazzos who were not supposed to be there, but Saul Jackson saw his opportunity and fired. You see a glimpse of Tony Perazzo off in the corner firing at your father and at you and at your brother. And you also notice another pair of people who you are vaguely acquainted with or vaguely recognize. One being the daughter of Tony Perazzo, Nikki Perazzo, running with someone you have maybe seen before, hand in hand, heading deeper into the spaceport, trying to find a way out of there. Your brother turns to you in this memory and looks and goes, "What the fuck are we gonna do? We gotta get the fuck out of here."
I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't.
Grabs a fistful of your shirt and just pushes you. What do you mean you don't know this was your fucking idea? You said you had an out. Let's get out.
Oh, okay. Yes. And starts leading Finn in a direction, really has no idea what he's doing.
Roll me a perception check.
It's a 6.
And because this is a memory, I won't let you exert in this case.
Fair.
In the moment, there was smoke and there was gunfire and there was the pings and pangs of bullets. There was shouting. There were factions that were fighting that you didn't understand. They weren't supposed to be here. None of this was supposed to be here. You're looking for your ride. You have the docking bay number, but you can't make out heads or tails of anything. And you find yourself heading towards the first ship you see. Clearly not the best ship, not even a good ship, but it's the only one that you can see through the smoke because of the colorful flowers painted on the side. And it just so happens to have its door open.
Sort of as we turn a corner to do that, I think probably like a cohort of goons with Casey Perazo maybe emerges onto the scene, and I imagine Casey, because of her large stature, is like rocking like a chunky machine gun.
Oh yeah,
like a Tommy gun style sort of vibe. And I think she just unloads in our direction.
It's like one of those guns that you pick up in like a special level in a video game and you only get to use it like in that room and it really slows you down, but it does so much
The one you
damage.
rip off of the turret and
totally
around.
Love it.
You turn the corner quickly and you see Casey Perazo with a couple of Perazo goons, but you don't notice the goons because Casey Perazo is such an imposing figure. And there are very few things that are more imposing than Casey Perazo, but this fucking gun is more imposing than Casey Perazo. Your eyes, Finn's eyes, lock onto it. You look at each other as Casey Perazo looks at you, recognizes exactly who the fuck sons you are, goes to pull the trigger with a big smile on her face, and you feel a hand on your chest as your brother pushes you away. You grab onto him, trying to pull him back as he is riddled with bullets. You grab onto the back of his collar, pulling, but the jacket comes free, and all you are left with is your brother's bullet-ridden and blood-soaked jacket. You know there's no reason to stay. You see his body get decimated in this moment. You fight off the shock because this shock is greater than shock. You just know to run. And you see a colorful sign that just says, "Hang in there, buddy." And you run towards it.
Our ship is so sad.
You flash back to the present moment as you and your father are wrestling over this gun. Looks at you with eyes full of venom. "If I could have had one son, I wouldn't have picked you."
He's fighting, and I think like tears are building up in his eyes, and he locks eyes with Saul and is just says, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry about Finn. But you did this to us. You spent our whole lives trying to drive us apart, make us compete, and all it did was make us closer. So fuck you. You're nothing without us. You're just a dog looking for his next leash, whether it's the Perazos or the snakes."
Go ahead and roll me a intimidation check. I'll say you can roll it with your grit. I'm going to have you roll it straight.
Copy. Grit?
Yeah.
That is a 9.
You see him momentarily blink as you say this word, this apology of "I'm sorry." You see him ready some kind of venomous response, and you take it all away from him as you tell him the truth that, quite frankly, he knows in the back of his head that he's likely the one at fault, really. You may have been the one that took the football that last yard, putting your brother in danger, but he took it the other 99 yards, getting you guys there. It was his ego, his want of power and wanting to destroy the Perazzos that set you up for this disaster. There's blame on both sides maybe, but certainly more of it falls on his shoulders. Your words hit true in the back of his head.
I guess I want to, there's something I'd like to read on his face and then try to do something aside, like abandon the struggle for the gun potentially to do something.
Sure. What are you trying to read?
I want to read if he has remorse and actually heard that apology like in a real way.
Go ahead and roll a savvy check. I'll say he's your father. You can answer me this true about Ward. Do you think you ever knew your father?
No.
Then roll with against the odds.
Okay. Savvy. Okay, there's the two lowest are a 4 and a 1. I'm gonna re-roll the 1. That's a 6. That's 10. Sort of if he feels it and if he is still going to try to kill me, I think is what I want to understand.
You see that he feels it. You think that given enough time, he might not try to kill you. It is very tough to fight that kind of cognitive dissonance, to have blamed someone else for so long, even if you know the truth to be something else, and to change your mind in that moment. I'm going to say with your role, he will likely understand it at some point, and he's well on his way to doing that now. Unless you make a more drastic move, he will continue fighting.
Copy. I would like to abandon the struggle for my pistol and reach into his holster in his jacket and grab his pistol and shoot him point blank. Not in the head, but in the gut.
I'm going to make this a contested savvy check.
Okay.
To see if he can recognize what you're doing. I will give you the upper hand, and he will roll straight.
That is an 8.
He rolls an 8 as well. Wrestling for the gun, you abandon this gun. You reach into his holster, pull the gun. It is a normal draw holster, so you're pulling it at an odd angle. He, now with control of your gun, you reach forward, grab his gun, and both level them at each other, cocking the triggers together, ready to fire. Because you guys tied in this roll, neither of you has the advantage on the other. Should you fire, he will also fire. Should you choose not to fire, I will make you make a savvy check to try to convince him in this moment not to shoot. But if you fire, it will be point blank. You will hit, and you will do double damage. He will also fire. He will also hit, and he will also do double damage. For you, that, just so you know, that will be halved by your
Troubles of Brewing.
Troubles of Brewing.
Do I see Eli and where Eli went?
I think in this area you would see Eli.
Because of the gunshot and everything?
Because of the gunshot.
I think that Ward has a moment where he's thinking about Finn and how Finn was really the only real family he had. And then I think he remembers Kumari saying,
"My first order as captain is, don't you assholes die on me."
And has like memories of sitting in the pod with Eli and being sad and like thinking about how Eli in a lot of ways has sort of filled that spot in his life. Yeah, I'm not going to say it again the way I said it last time. And I think Ward makes a decision that he's not willing to, I think, fully rebuild with his father. It's not worth it. And he pulls the trigger.
Go ahead and roll an attack. You'll roll with the upper hand. You'll remove the lowest one, and you'll choose whatever die left over that you want to choose that you will double.
All right. That is 9 to hit, and 5 damage times 2 is 10.
Oh. What's Ward's heart?
4.
Oh no.
Oh! You pull the gun. Your father wrestles the gun down. You spin the gun up into a shooting position at the same time. He cocks, you cock. You pause both for a moment, waiting. Not knowing which will pull the trigger first. If either of you will, you decide, is this a relationship worth salvaging? That is a conversation that would take days, if not weeks, if not months to mend. You have but a second, and you choose. You fire directly into your father's chest. He had 8 heart. Your 5 doubled is 10. Your father falls to the ground, dead. As he falls, trigger pulls. The hammer of the gun hits a bullet that ignites the powder inside the bullet. The bullet explodes out of the barrel, firing only a few inches to hit its target, bam, in the center of your chest. I'm going to roll a pretty important check here that it is very unlikely you will survive. You'll be rolling with the upper hand because of the range, so you'll be getting rid of the lowest die. Whatever die is left over, you will be doing double damage with. Because your troubles were a-brewing, that will be halved. So if he does 4 or more damage, we're going to have to make one more check as you are knocking on heaven's door.
Mm-hmm.
That is a 5, and a 2 is 7. His savvy is 3. That is enough. The remaining die is a 4.
Oh.
As you feel a bullet rip through you. You felt that a number of times before, not like this. You fall to the ground, guns clatter to the ground, ring out. You don't hear the crowd, you just hear your own heartbeat. You hear that heart singed partially by a bullet, and you hear it slowing in your ears.
One thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the Gambit Unstoppable. And once per arc, I can choose to take half damage, or if stacked with Troubles of Brewing, negate all incoming damage.
You can!
You absolute
motherfucker. You piece of shit. You goddamn piece of shit.
Oh my god.
I was fucked up.
Oh my god.
Oh shit! Said that before the whole narration.
Can't fuck with
Oh my god.
Oh no, I needed to let it hurt. I needed to let it hurt.
It did.
Then, Elliot, if you'll allow me a little bit of
Please.
creative license.
I would love the creative license. I want to see how this, yeah.
You have never felt a bullet hurt like this. You feel your heart slowing as you get blasted back by a near point-blank shot from a revolver. Bang! It rings out just that little bit different. You fall back, you hit hard, and you reach underneath your shirt to detach a large plate of metal, now dented hard with a bullet, straight out of Fistful of Dollars.
Can we do just a quick flashback scene of Eli, like, even though they'd been fighting, like, Eli the night before just, like, wordlessly coming to Ward's room and, like, giving him this plate armor that he'd like had fabricated. He's like, "You're my brother." And then he walks away before it gets emotional. Flashback over.
You pull out this bit of armor, toss it on the ground next to you, fully winded. I mean, quite frankly, a slug to the chest will have some issues. You will be feeling this for a while. But for the moment, at least, you're alive. Off in the distance, you hear the sounds of a fight. Over across the way, you see Eli stumbling back after already getting shot and raising his gun to fire towards Tony Perazzo. You recognize that there are maybe still ways your gun can be of use. Do you pick it up?
Yeah.
As you pick up your gun, let's do a quick bathroom break because I really have to pee.
Me too. That sounds good.
Back in
back in
5, 10?
5.
Okay, cool.
Sounds good.
Oof, badoof. You like us. You really like us. At least, I assume that you do, as you've listened to every minute of this episode. And yet you haven't already left us a 5-star review? Ugh. Well, what are you waiting for? Get over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and leave that review now. It's always wonderful to hear words from our adoring fans. Getting more ratings helps people find the show and love it as well. And we love to hear your nice words. So head over to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and leave us that 5-star review. Ta-ta!